Yep.
And
I
I'm
got
here.
you. I hear you. It's taking a minute to connect here.
Giving me a lot of permissions to accept on my end.
Oh, okay.
Like, you're being recorded. I'm like, uh-huh. I know.
Here it is. And let me kill that volume. Is that setup going to work for you?
Yes.
That work with me? If you
Yeah.
need this over more.
That's perfect right there.
There you go.
Okay.
I'll leave you to it.
Bless you. Now, and I'd love to have it come on my phone.
Yeah.
Is how do I make it come up on Facebook now?
You are on Facebook.
Okay. Sorry, I was doing
There you
something.
are.
Oh, look at us.
There we are.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Why does it work when you do it?
Because
Because you're the man.
I'm genius level.
Thank you.
Bye. Have fun.
Okay.
Bye,
Oh,
Tom.
Lord. I love technology. I had a
Yeah.
reading the other day, and the person who read me said, "You actually are good at technology." So, what I have to do is just know that,
Yeah.
embrace it. You told me that years ago.
Yeah.
So, everybody, here we are. This is my beautiful friend Angela. She's going to say who she is exactly, tell a little bit about her because she is many, many things. Angela is. We are really, really lucky to have her today in a lot of ways. Because I always say I'm lucky to have my guest. I'm lucky to have my friend today. Okay. So, 2 years ago, October 22nd, there was a devastating accident. And it didn't, we didn't know we were going to have our friend. So, I'm happy to have you today, dear. I love you. And please tell everybody just who the heck you are.
Oh boy. You didn't prepare me. You said you were going to tell everybody who I was. Now I have to think about that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I know who I am, but I'm going to go with my name is Angela. And what I guess who I used to be was the owner of Crescent Moon Gifts. And that is a metaphysical store in Tacoma, Washington. We actually celebrated our 21st birthday in that store this year. So can legally drink now
Oh,
for Crescent Moon Gifts.
that's
But as you said, since the accident, I really don't do any in-store things much anymore. I will occasionally pop in and make an appearance, but the accident kind of forced me into an early retirement. I was kind of working that way, but I'm a little bit retired. So my retirement job, I am a bed and breakfast owner. I actually own a castle in Monroe, Washington, which is used for bed and breakfast, event space, weddings. It's actually very magical property. And so most of my time now is split between doing behind the scenes for Crescent Moon and physically running that bed and breakfast and being present for everything that goes on at that property.
mhm. Okay. It is so cool. Can you tell everybody the name so that they can look it up?
Oh, yeah. So it's called High Rock Castle and it's in Monroe, Washington. So our website's, of course, highrockcastle.com. A lot of people find us on Google. I actually have asked several people that have showed up at the castle, how did you find us? And they said they just expanded the Google Maps around them really wide and noticed there
Oh,
was a castle and then decided to come check it out. So we are on the map, which, is great. So it's High Rock Castle. We also have a fairy tale cottage, some vintage campers. It is a really magical property. And it's funny because the last time I was on your show, we were talking about magical manifestation, which of course was, I believe you said it was the day before the accident. And so I was in the middle of manifesting this castle when the accident occurred. So I actually, and we'll kind of probably talk into it, but I came back to see how that would all turn out. So here I am.
oh my gosh. Well, that's one of the things that I think about is that I got out of Tacoma without ever seeing your castle, without ever hugging your husband, Dan. I think I hugged you and Cheryl.
Yeah.
That's about it. Not a lot of the family, not all my friends. I mean, when we did it, we were out and gone. So
Yeah.
someday, I'll come back and see the castle. And I love the little trailers, they're super cute.
Thank you.
And you can feel the energy at those events. And you love brides. See, I don't know about that, but you
You
love them.
know, we have very cool brides and grooms and couples of ungendered,
Yeah.
mismatched. I love it because inherently owning a castle lead you to meet the coolest people. I mean, it's not your average everyday person that walks in the door. So I feel like I'm actually really blessed with my niche market because same thing with my store. I mean, owning a metaphysical store, we have the coolest customers. We are surrounded. I've been lucky to be surrounded for the last 20 plus years with just amazing people. But I do love planning events. I love theme events. I love helping people plan their events. And I just enjoy it. I mean, and who doesn't love a celebration of love? I mean, I don't know, weddings, uh, you know, my husband wasn't sold on it completely, but even he is like, you know what, I really enjoy this. And it's like, you're celebrating people's love and they're really very cool people. So I 100%, we don't do it. It's not our main business. We don't do it every day. We do limit that. So it's mostly people that are there for D&D weekends or, goddess retreats, or we throw a lot of tea parties and themed events. So I just feel like I'm working after my retirement, but it is something I'm really passionate about doing. And I have kind of snuck that into the crescent moon with events and such, for years. So now I can just really focus on that. It's been really nice.
Well, Crescent Moon was really good to me. That's a place that I felt like I was surrounded by all kinds of people that cared about us and cared about the community, and I felt really good about it. And when I found the place I'm working at now, I sent you a picture of the sign. Sure
Yeah.
enough, the sign has a crescent moon on it. I'm
Yes.
not kidding. And I thought, I think that's my place I'm going to go be at. And it turned out that, yeah. So I'm just lucky to be there. It's called the Divine Dragonfly, everybody. So you also, do you want to talk about New Orleans?
Oh, I do have a bet. Well, I have a home in New Orleans because New Orleans is kind of in my blood. I don't know if it's a past life thing. My astrologer, I don't know if she's watching. She might be. Beth, there's something to the places where your soul lines up. And what I was told was, well, you would feel really at home there because it's part of your soul line or something to that effect. I think I was told by an astrologer. So I feel like it's in my blood and it's a very witchy city. I have traveled almost everywhere in the world. I feel like I've been a lot of places and I really feel like there's just something in the energy in New Orleans that it's kind of indescribable. You just have to experience it. So we had visited several times, probably about 8, 10 times. And then we thought, we just have to have a house here. We're getting older. Maybe this will be our Florida. Everybody goes to Florida or Arizona for retirement. But I was like, you know what? I want to live in a very witchy city with really delicious food. And it's just, we bought the house there and we bought a double so we could share it with people. So I do actually have a rental in New Orleans that is on Airbnb. And then our side is very witchy. So I let personal friends come and sometimes stay in that side. But yeah, it's a great place. And yeah, funny enough, I had somebody message me through the Crescent Moon email and said, hey, I want to go to New Orleans and I want to stay somewhere I know, which will be a good place because it's run by good people. And they did a booking. And so I really love sharing that city with people because people that haven't been there before, we get a lot of first timers and it's just like when I first went there. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And I just love sharing that with people. So yeah, we do have one there.
I'm definitely coming to visit you. I'm hoping for next year. I want to visit Marie. My guide is from there,
Yeah. Yeah.
and people come to visit Marie, and I know that you know where her bones are.
Yes.
So I'm very, very hopeful. Who knows? I'm probably still going to be eating keto, so none of that good stuff is going to be.
Oh no, you can still do it. You can keto. I have made a way to keto every Southern food,
Okay.
even bread pudding. You cannot go wrong. If you're keto, you have to make some modifications in what you order, but you can still enjoy a lot of things there.
I'm a keto fruito because that's why I didn't make it 2 years ago. Because Tom and I
Oh.
were like, we're going to kill for fruit. What's the deal? And we
Mhm.
fell off, but now we're fruitos at the same time. So it seems to be working. But
Yeah.
yes, so I'm hoping you're coming out this way too because I'm discovering all kinds of super cool places. over here.
I did try. I tried in the fall, but it didn't quite work out. But yeah, I would love to visit too. I would love to visit. I've not been there, and I think it would be really cool because you live in a very unique place with the Amish community and things like that. I mean, there's just place in U.S. that you can. They're one of a kind, and there's nothing like it. And so I feel like we'll trade. I'll come visit you. You
Yeah,
come visit me. We get to do each
absolutely.
other around.
Well, the thing that I was reading the other day was really interesting. It's they call it hexing, and I don't know enough about what that's about, but
Hmm.
that is a practice, a religious practice that's very old. It's a healing practice. I have to go back and research that because
Uh-huh.
depends on what's going on in the atmosphere and the ethers that how much my brain catches a hold of something. But I really want to find out about how you have changed because you are different.
Yes.
You are a different person. I had a nice lunch with you before I left, and my mouth was hanging open the whole time, I think, with all the stories that you told me. So tell us whatever you feel comfortable about wanting us to know today.
Okay. Well, I know you had mentioned want me to talk about the actual, I don't know if you want me to mention the actual process. I mean, I won't get into the gory details or anything, but the thing that I experienced, I guess I should start at the beginning,
Sure.
if that makes sense. Okay. So, um, funny enough, I have been in many car accidents. Not any of them were my fault. And before the accident that actually took me out completely, I had an accident 3 weeks before that totaled my vehicle. So I was already recovering from that when we were on our way to a haunted forest because it was, October and we were going to go do some witchy thing with our friends. And it's unfortunate. We were almost there, and what happened was there was a driver that came barreling around the corner on the wrong side of the road in our lane, around a corner, blind corner, and hit us head on. And so all four of the people in the vehicle, myself, my husband, my friends, we were pretty much totaled at that point, the vehicle. And it was very interesting because my friend and I in the back seat, and we were actually just talking about the prior accident. And I said, well, this is our only vehicle now. And then all of a sudden we were hit. And it was very interesting because she grabbed my hand, I grabbed her hand, and we both knew we were dying. And that sounds like so surreal. It's not something I would ever think about. But she said, I my lungs are punctured, I'm dying, and I love you. And I said, I believe the seatbelt has gone through me. I am also dying and I love you. And that was the last thing I remember saying. My vision blacked out, and I could feel, unfortunately, I could feel what was going on, which was, incredibly painful. I would not recommend dying 0 stars in an accident. It's the worst, the absolute worst. But my vision blacked out. So I could still hear, and I was in and out of consciousness for a little bit as they really tried to get us all out of the car. So we were rushed to the hospital. And during that time, I was in and out of my body. So it was very interesting because I think it was kind of a pain management thing. I think my soul was like, you know what? It's incredibly painful. We're going to get you out of here. Consciousness. We're going to kind of, distance you from what is going on in there, while they figure that out. And so I remember in the emergency room, I would assume I couldn't see yet. My vision had gone. I had hit my head. I've had a long history of concussion. So head injury is really terrible. And I remember hearing my husband's voice next to me. I remember hearing Daniel saying, I'm here. And I was like, oh, good. And I could hear him. I couldn't see him, but he was also laid out in a bed next to me. Then I remember hearing the medical people come in and say, we're going to take you to surgery. And I was like, thank everything. It's been hours. Get me, unconscious. And that is what I remember physically what happened after the accident. Of course, I couldn't see anything. What I didn't know is when I had arrived in that hospital, I was actually DOA. I didn't know that till I went through and was looking at very extensive, pages and pages and pages, dozens of pages of medical records after the accident, because they didn't quite tell me all of what had happened to me. So I can say that during that surgery, I feel like I was astrally out of my body because I was taking in a lot of the room. I didn't quite see the entire surgery, but I knew that they were working on me. I remember trying to figure out quite like where to go, and what had happened when I was out for part of that was I went into what I will call the void, because by there really isn't any descriptor for it, but it is just all blackness. And it reminded me of, I'm going to date myself, it reminded me of Mork and Mindy, where he would go at the end of the episode and wrap it up with the voice, and you would just see him and just blank. Everything was blank. And I heard the voice. The voice was androgynous, so I couldn't tell you it wasn't male, wasn't female. It was a very neutral voice. And I was expecting them to tell me what was going on with me. And I said, okay, basically, I'm here now, what? And they said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, what do you mean? Is it up to me? And they said, actually, it is up to you. They said, you have learned every lesson you needed to in your lifetime. You don't have to go back. You can choose to go back if you would like. And you won't have any lessons. You'll be basically winging it, which Angela, down on Earth, Angela doesn't like winging it. So, it was an interesting kind of conversation that I wasn't expecting. What I was expecting was that the guides, gods, etc., my loved ones that I expected to be on the other side to come forth for me, they did not. So I was in this blackness. I heard this voice, very neutral, and they said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I think I would miss my husband's face. I'm a Stan. So I don't want to leave him right now. I want to go back. And so I woke back up in my body, semi-conscious. It was after the first surgery. They had to kind of actually just take a look, see what was going on, stop any major organs from failing, and staple me back up. I looked a little like Frankenstein. And then I could hear them. I know I was drugged up, but I could hear them saying, we don't know if we're going to be able to repair the damage. We really just don't know. We don't know how to put her back together again in a way that's functional. We have to think on this, and we'll try again tomorrow. Like, we have to really think on it because it's not easy. And I remember then going blacked out again. And I remember you had said that I had popped into like one of your classes or something, like you had seen me in the astral. So I was basically checking in with everybody in the astral, like, okay, I'm kind of stuck here in limbo. I chose to come back. Now I'm in limbo. Where do I go? What do I do? And so I'm just like popping around in the astral. And I thought, well, that's so very fascinating. In retrospect, I'm like, what was I doing up there? I was just everywhere, but I could see my friends in the hospital. I could see you. I could see the store. I could see everybody. Nobody could see me because I was left unconscious for my own safety. So what had happened, I went back into surgery, and they were able to repair what they were able to repair. The most important thing I had thought about was they had said maybe my organs wouldn't all go back inside my body, and I'd have to kind of carry them around. And that would not have been a good, acceptable quality of living for me. So I believe that I came back with that kind of tentative agreement of like, I've got to go back and be in one piece. So they were actually able to fix what was going on. I came back and I was in one piece. I was in the hospital. As you know, you visited me there for about 3 weeks. And in that time, I actually didn't receive proper care, and I wound up having a pulmonary embolism, and I also died again. It felt like a stroke to me. I couldn't form words. I couldn't actually get sentences out. I couldn't really tell anybody what was going on with me. And so luckily, just by the grace of helpful angels, they had sent somebody in to do a test, and then they noticed I was failing, and I'm glad they came in because I might not have, so I went back into the void, and they said, "You're back. Did you change your mind?" And I said, "No, this is an accident. I've got a castle I'm buying, and I need to go back and see how that works out." So in retrospect, that's just ridiculous. You know, I didn't think about like my kids, my job, my anything that would really have real world been affected by me not being there. I was very goal focused. You know, first it was my where my heart was. You know, I've got to go back and see my husband. The second was I've got to go back and see how this work thing turns out. It's
Right.
so stupid, but that's how it went down. And then when I fully came to my senses, I was like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? You know, at that time. But I did choose to come back. And so I was back pretty quickly at that point. And then I did recover. I made them release me after 3 weeks in the hospital. I said, you know, I couldn't eat. There was a lot of, you know, challenges for me in the hospital. It wasn't restful. Constant blood draws, things like that. So I said, I need to get out of here, basically. And they had told me at the time they weren't expecting me to recover really much at all. They said, you know, you'll probably, my vision did come back, thankfully. By the time I woke up from surgery, I had vision again. That was great. But they said, and you're speaking, so we feel like you're going to be manageable as a human being, but there's no coming back from what you experience. You're never going to recover ever. And I, of course, don't accept that. You know, when somebody tells me you can't do something, of course, you're going to try to do it. So I said, I don't accept that. And so I really, what I could do as I was heavily medicated was try to focus on my healing and getting better, you know, walking. They didn't really want me out of bed, but I would sneak out of bed anyway, set off all kinds of alarms and they'd be chasing me down. I said, I have to be able to do these things to heal myself. And I eventually did kind of fight with them a little bit. And at the 3 week mark, I said, I'm going home to recover. You know, I have to, because I have to be able to eat. I have to be able to sleep. Like that's really important to my recovery. So that's when I came out of the hospital. I came home, like, as you said, a much different person. I had physically lost probably, you know, 30 pounds at that point. So I was healing myself. Nothing was quite right with the body. You know, it took, I think I was really not feeling fully functional till maybe a year and a half later, even. So, but it's a journey. And they said, you know, we don't think you're going to get any better. And I was like, well, I'm not accepting that. So I'm
Right.
definitely going to do that. But I came back, like, for instance, daily coffee drinker. I came back not liking coffee. It was so strange. So I knew I came back a different person, and I knew that, you know, it's obviously all of my old memories and things like that were there, but my soul had changed, if that makes sense. You know, I don't know which one came back because I've been in a lot of lifetimes in a lot of different, you know, things have gone on in with my soul journey. So I'm not sure, but I know that I did come back a different version. But I came back a more peaceful version, if that makes sense. You know, I never really lost my drive or, you know, my desire to like forge forward. I don't like being limited. I had to concede some limitations and let people take care of me for a little bit. You know, and that was hard for me, but I think the old Angela probably wouldn't have done that at all. You know, honestly, I really had to compromise with myself on some things. Um, I had also felt kind of a lack of faith when I came back because nobody did show up for me. And it was probably about 6 or 8 months down the road where I could have a conversation with my guides and been like, hey, you guys, where were you? And then I, you know, was told, oh, had you chose to stay, we would have come and taken you where you belong. You know, that's fine. But we weren't called upon yet to do that. And I said, okay. But I had felt like I lost everything. You know, I didn't feel, it took me about 6 months before I could even feel a connection to any deity or anything. It was really a very, I guess, it was a really strange time, you know, because I've been talking to spirits my whole life, and I've had such a connection with them that it felt just weird to have them just go silent, go dark, and let me heal. But I think they were just waiting to see what happened, you know, to see what I would do. And I remember when we first had talked to them about the accident, and we said, you know, why did that happen? That obviously wasn't part of the plan. And they said no. And they said out of a million different timelines and a million different scenarios of what could have happened, only one of them allowed all of you to actually walk out of that. We had to find the one path that would get everybody out and still breathing, basically. So if you think about that, the odds of survival were pretty zero, like 0.001. And they were like, we're gonna get all of you if you choose, to come back. There were, my friend was also chose to come back. We're going to get you out of this in the best way we can. So they also said, well, now you're not, you don't have a certain goals or a timeline. So what they told me later on, about a year later, I talked to them and I said, what is going on? I'm getting all this stuff I've already tackled. And they said, well, you didn't pick anything. So now you're getting a chance to relive all of your lessons to see if you react differently. And I was like, you didn't tell me that. I would have picked something, certainly, because I dealt with this stuff like 10, 15, 20 years ago. Why is it back? And they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to see how your soul has evolved and how you deal with every lesson you've ever had in that lifetime before. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I do feel like I'm a different person when they are throwing me challenges, and I do handle them better. And I guess this is another chance to go through everything I've ever been through again and potentially level up or just kill time. I'm not quite certain at this point. But I feel like there are definitely some lessons that I did integrate. So, I would take like the election, for instance, because it's a big thing right now. I approached that in such a neutral place that I didn't get affected by it. And I really felt bad because my whole timeline, all my friends, they're just really, really emotional and upset, which I understand, but I don't have any of that. I am like, does not affect me, will not affect me. I cannot get into any of that energetic BS. Like, I'm not getting dragged into it. And I tried to like lift up, because Dan was very angry and he, everybody's emotionally invested and I just wasn't. And I said, whatever it is, it's going to be, and I can't do anything about it. And it's not going to affect me. Like, I'm going to still do what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to let that change what's going on in my life. And so I felt things like that, where it's like I can kind of go above something that's happening on the earth plane and go, it doesn't matter. I'm a person, I'm a soul. I'm not going to get involved in that. And I felt really like very different than everybody else at that point in time. It was actually glaringly different. And it's just interesting. I also, when I come back, I had heavy shielding on. Being in a metaphysical business, you have to have shielding on all the time. And I haven't done that in like 2 years. I haven't done a daily shield. I haven't done anything like that. And I feel like, you know what? Nothing affects me. And it's so super interesting coming back and going, it just like everything you would focus on that would bother you or that you would have to combat on a daily basis, just gone. I just don't even do it. I don't pay any attention to anything like that. I just do what I'm doing, kind of focus and stay in my lane and affect what I can affect. And I don't feel the collective as much as I did before. And I don't know why, but it has brought a really big sense of peace in my life for me, to not be yanked, emotionally or yanked spiritually all the time, everywhere. So I think that is a very long answer to your very short question. But I feel like that is definitely how I am different 2 years after that accident.
Yes. So nobody has that story, but people have something that has happened to them in the last few years that has caused similar things to what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't get caught in that stuff either. And I always make the joke that I didn't cross over, but my pancreas did. And so when you go through something like that, it could be a loss of a very important person in your life to make you re-look at something. It could simply be the understanding that we are all at a different place. Well, the person who talked about that the other day that was just so perfect was Amanda Lawrence. She was talking about people come in, and she had a photo, or not a photo, but a drawing that she made. There was the beach, and there were waves, and there was like a tower. And she said, A lot of people are here on the beach, and that's 5D. Up here are the waves that people are in, and everybody has their own wave. And eventually they come over and they're on the 5D. That could be just where their experience is going to be forever. They'll be creating from that. Okay.
Mhm.
There are also some people that go up higher than that, and there are different levels there too. And the way she said it took her an hour and 5 minutes to say that in her beautiful singular voice, which is so calming, that I thought that's the most beautiful way to understand what's going on right now. Most lovely way. I felt like watching an angel speak. And then I said to myself, wait a minute. Because memory is so weird right now. Everybody has to agree with that. Luckily, I was listening to Bashar the other day, and Bashar said, that memory you used to have, pretty much gone.
Mhm.
What we have is it's like channeling. We want to
Yes.
know something, we go in there and channel what happened on that day, and it's going to be there. It's a
Mhm.
great way to put it. So
Yep.
I thought to myself, now wait a minute, because it was early in the morning. I always remember better in the morning for some reason. And I said to myself, wait a minute. And I went back and I read what my two guides gave me the other day. And they were talking about, and I posted yesterday, they were talking about waves and all this different stuff.
Oh
And
yeah.
that had come in early that morning for me. And I'm like, that's so crazy to
Mhm.
have heard it my own way, you know. Um, and then he heard it again in such a beautiful way that she explained it, because never could I have thought that I might have ever known any of that stuff years back. But it's true. We know what to do. And if
Mhm.
we can just trust that, we can trust in ourselves that we know now what to do. So the other thing you brought up, I wrote down these things I wanted to mention: to shield or not to shield.
Mhm.
So forever and a day, I've done it too. I have a whole page one. I just call it page one. This is what we do. This is
Yep.
how we call it in. This is how we ground. This is what we do. The It's been a while that I actually do that exactly, unless I want to just real be calm and go through each one of it.
Mhm.
Most of the time, I look out my window and I see all that happening right there,
Yeah.
just like that. Now, people got there years before me. I mean, I had to get there in my own process, right? But without that weighted down of all the armoring anymore, you're pretty slick and juicy, as I
I feel
call it.
pretty light. I do. And it's really interesting because I mean, we worked together for many years. I would get psychic attacks. I would get so much stuff just hurled at me.
Yeah,
And I'm not going to say I came back like, the bionic woman, but I feel like it doesn't touch me. Nothing
yeah,
touches me anymore. And I don't know if that is because I did face like the ultimate, at the accident, it's like after you've been dead, it's like, what else is there? What could they do to you? You've already been dead. I don't know. It's like what doesn't kill you does make you stronger. I mean, I guess I get that now. Like, honestly, I do feel like as a person, I mean, it took physically a long time to recover, but I do feel much stronger and way more solid as just a person that I'm so far distanced from the collective. I don't even notice anything. Maybe they are throwing it and maybe I don't even notice because I just feel like whatever it is, it's like a perma shield. It's just me now and nothing touches me, which has been honestly one of the best things because that was exhausting, having to constantly pay attention to like, where's this poop coming from? Who's slinging it? What do you do about it? And it's like, I don't get that. And I don't know, but that is like the benefit of reliving every life lesson you've ever been through in a lifetime, I guess, is that as you're doing it, you also aren't getting, pooped on anymore. Or maybe I am and I don't feel it. And that's kind of good, I think.
I don't know. I still see the poop flinging, and I'm like, okay. And
Yep.
and I just, send it back to whatever. I mean, I've had some pretty good conversations with the holies lately, and it's out there for us to see personally.
Yeah.
It really is. So Sonia says, beautifully said, and such a moving personal story. I had the same response or non-response to the political changes. It is simply showing up to be a mirror for us to show where we need to shift. I am simply curious about how we will shift collectively. Yeah, infinitely curious about how this is going to go, because this is the how many days later since that whole thing happened. There are people, fewer people, I would say, on social media, at least my feed that are even talking about it right now.
Same. Yeah, same. And I think, after any shift or shakeup, you have to have a moment of integration
Yeah.
where it's like, you got to feel what you feel and just whatever. But for me, I just I felt like different from everybody else because I wasn't reacting to it. And that personally just felt strange to just not be part of my, you know, friends, family, etc. That, it's like I normally very empathic person will experience what they're experiencing. And I couldn't. I almost tried for a minute and it wasn't working.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't get into it. But I did try to lift people up. I said, well, how are you different than you were last week? How are you personally different? What has changed in your life personally? And they're like, well, nothing, but it could. And I said, but here's the thing, we're projecting the it coulds and nothing's happened. Not anything of everything that could potentially happen, but also it could potentially happen. How things went last time where really we didn't feel much of, we felt some. I mean, there are obviously some people are going to be a little bit more focused on what the could be's because they fall into groups that they feel will be the worst affected. But however, it's like collectively, I believe if we're holding the anything could happen. Things could go great, here. And I said, I have to play devil's advocate for a minute and be, here's a person that's very passionate about fixing some stuff. And now they have all the power to fix some stuff. Well, let's see what they do with that. Maybe they will put their energy into fixing some stuff. Who knows? I said, I can hold that as my desired outcome, or I can go, things could be different, terribly different. And I'm like, which one am I going to hold on to? If I have to hold an energy for the earth, it's going to be a passionate person that has desire to fix some things could actually do it.
Yeah.
And that's the energy I'm holding because I'm here at this point, it's unknown. It is undecided. We don't know what's going to happen. And it's like, if we are focused so much on that, we're losing ourselves. We're not focused. I think we're more outwardly than inwardly focused. And for me, it's like, okay, well, what's going to happen, I'm going to make those manifestations of what I want to put out in the world, what I will, of course I'll be there if somebody is struggling or they're having a hard time, because I am an empathic person that cares about my friends. And if they're going through an emotional thing, I will support them and be there for them and try to help them. And if they ask me, I'll counsel them through it. But even in my own household, because we also have a roommate now, a friend that's staying with us, and she was deeply affected. And I said, well, let's talk about it. It's like, but this is going to happen and that's going to happen. I said, how can you predict what's going to happen? We didn't even know who was going to be there, 2 weeks ago. You can't predict what's going to happen. I said, but let's hold the energy. Like, what has happened yet? Nothing. It's neutral, it's open. And let's just go with like the best possible scenario instead of the worst possible scenario. And, think about how you're personally affected by that. Like what today, how are you different? What's going to be different in January for you personally? Like at this point, it's nothing. She goes, well, it's nothing. And I said, that's the thing. It is nothing. It's neutral. It's not, we're in the nothing. So let's just hold the good energy. And, I do try to help people through it. But personally for me, I feel like, I've been on the planet for 50 years. I've gone through a lot of people up there in the big house. And I haven't changed a whole lot as a person because of it. And I feel like there's things that are used to polarize and divide. And I feel like I'm not having it. I'm just not falling into it. I'm going to have to like love everybody through it, and I know you've been saying that for years, just got to love everybody through it. But I do feel that is the way, I'll be there for whatever people need for my friends and family, of course. But for myself personally, it does not change my goals. It doesn't change what I'm working on. It doesn't change me as a person. None of that is going to be different. And I think that is probably the most freedom I've ever felt.
And it's beautiful. It's beautiful to get there. So here I am in Pennsylvania. Who would have known that?
Yeah.
And half the time I hear people, I just listen, more than yap. And I was at a flea market on Sunday and I was listening to some people behind me talking about politics. The lady was saying something that you would have never thought a lady would say. And the guy was saying what you have never heard the guy to say. So it's completely different. than what is lobbed at us on, of course, I don't watch the news, but on social media and at the news.
Yes.
So I do believe people have woken up in the last few weeks to some of the stuff that folks swallowed whole as
Mhm.
being the absolute truth.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Because,
agree.
yeah, because I had, being in Pennsylvania, it's a, what do they call that?
The
Something state. What
swing
do they
state,
call it?
the swing state. You make all the decisions over there, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, yeah. Okay, well, I've never lived in a state where it counted before, and they always just elected the same jokers every time. In Washington, didn't get anything done. I mean, our
Hmm.
personal Washington state.
You're,
So in Pennsylvania, evidently they want to come to your door and talk about it a bunch. They want
mhm.
to call you, text you. They want to do all kinds of mailings, which I kept one of them right here. I wasn't going to show anybody, but
Souvenir.
with me being a writer, I write on any blank form. So
Uh-huh.
this turned into something I needed to say something, which was not about this. It was about something else. Just didn't want to forget. But I kept it because it says, "Do you know that your neighbors on your street will know whether you voted or not?"
Oh my gosh.
I told somebody that back home
Yeah.
in Washington
I mean,
State.
maybe they're watching you. I don't know. That sounds weird.
Oh well, just wait. And so I said, ah, I said that to somebody who lives in Washington. She says, "Well, that's Republicans." And I said, "Actually, you know what? I looked it up. It was the Democrats, and they
Oh,
got in
that's
trouble
funny.
for it."
That's
So
funny.
I'm just always have been kind of like a nothing in the last few years because I look at what's out there and I think, wow, could we do a lot better? So I made the
Sure.
joke of I'm voting for myself this year, and I had a good laugh at that. But what I want to say really though is if you listen to some people, and I listen to a lot of different people, but I listened to Tim Wilde, and he said, well, 60% of everybody on the earth are now open. Okay, they're now awakened to this. They don't know what it is, all 60%, but they have awakened. Okay, so you'll notice a lot of young people are asking questions now, or a lot of newly awakened. What is this? Why do I feel this way? Right?
Hmm.
What is that feeling inside of me? Because we remember how when
Sure.
many years ago we were like that, right? Mary Beckman for president. Yeah, and I'm going to be on the love platform. What was I saying? Anyway, so he says 60%. 60%.
Hmm.
What if, because I remember back in the day, I listened to Jason, and back in the day, Jason says, this is what's going to happen. That man has never been wrong. He went off talking to us a few months back. He says, I will be with you when the world changes. Well,
Nice.
that would be right now, because I'm sure everybody knows big Herkin openings have happened. So
Hmm.
everybody, let's just concentrate on what we want. Let's concentrate on what Angela's saying. What do we want to see? What do we want to be? I'm going to be the capybara I want to see out in the world. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's where real change comes from, not sitting in one stew. Although I'm not saying you don't want to sit there for a minute and feel, because all the good
Sure.
feels, you got to feel those feelings, or else they'll wind up in your butt, and then 10 years ago or 10 years later, you can't move your butt, something like that. Because I did process something out of my leg today that had been there a long time.
Hmm.
So remember, you got to feel your feelings, or might get some pain in the
Sure.
butt.
I
Yeah.
just appreciated not having as many about it, and being a little above the BS. I really thought that went well. I do feel like this is a great opportunity for the collective to learn some lessons about what happened.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the thing. Lessons repeat itself over and over again. And what are you going to learn? How are we going to react differently? And that is on micro level in myself. Like I'm getting all of my lessons back. How I'm going to react differently. Well, here collectively on the macro level is like, here's the lesson again. How are we going to respond differently? How are we going to act differently if you don't like something, right? That's the lesson. Inherently, it keeps repeating itself. So I thought it was an interesting to see that result and then say, okay, what do people need to learn from this? And I
Yeah.
think if they also think about that, they will probably grow and evolve as best as they can through what's going on. So I hope that for everybody. I'm gonna keep hold of good thoughts, but it was yeah, it's a different feeling about everything. And it was funny because that day I said, the sun is shining. It's such a good day. I have such high, great energy. I had high, great energy that day. Um, and I said, I have a good feeling about this. I didn't know, it wasn't because I thought one person or the other person. I said, I just have a good feeling about it. I don't know why. I felt personally not stressed. I actually felt full of like a lot of joy. And I just kept projecting like that love and joy out to the world. Cause I said, I haven't watched anything in 6, 8 weeks on the news. Like occasionally I'll open my email and it's got some news headlines, but I also do not look at the media, social or otherwise. And I said, my husband and I were talking. I said, what I disliked about the last time this person was in charge is that the media just shoved something every day. Every day it was like, what's this person going to do? What's that person going to do? And I said, you know what? Now we know what he's going to do. Like we know him as a person. And I said, whatever he's going to do, he's going to do. And whatever I'm going to do, I'm also going to do. And it's not gonna interact with each other, And so I had to kind of say, I think that was the lesson that I took from it was like, don't get involved with that daily. Guess what happened now? Guess what happened today? This is, because if you just ignore that peacefully in your mind, you'll be able to just focus on what you can control and yourself. And I think a lot of people will have the opportunity to evolve now because I think this lesson is just coming back for everybody. So yes. I hope everybody gets to level up. I hope it's 100%, not 60%. It'd be nice if everybody just woke up. We're in the age of Aquarius, right? I'm like, I've been waiting for this the whole time I've been alive. It was like this age of Aquarius. Everybody's supposed to be open and, like, where are we going to go? Like, I find it to be exciting. It's like, how is it going to manifest? Where are we going to go? How are we going to see collective shifts? And I think it's an interesting thing to come back and watch a human story of what is going on right now on the planet. So I'm glad I came back. Sometimes when I was going through my challenges of, I came back to see how the castle was working out. And then when it was like being very challenging with the bank and challenging with this and that, I said, I just thought I'd come back and it'd be easy because I had been through so much, I just thought it was going to be cake and it's not, but I had to think about, okay, this is how I'm going to do some different things. And I feel like, I mean, I always have had my foot in between the worlds anyway, but I do feel like kind of split now. Like I'm more 50-50 than like dipping my toe in before, maybe like 25%, or I just would, kind of dip in when I wanted to. And now I just feel like very split. Like half of me is here down here doing this mortal thing, and half of me is up there and really controlling more of the shots, or giving me more information, or giving me more opportunities to utilize a higher energy for my path, which I think is pretty awesome.
Absolutely. I sure am glad that when asked you decided to come back, because I saw you a few times in the hospital and saw you when you were really not doing well at all. Mm-hmm. Then I saw you in the period I would call I'm super pissed.
Yeah, I don't like limitations. That's true.
Yeah. And just seeing how hard you worked, because I just want to tell everybody that wasn't a cakewalk for this person to come back to functionality at all.
That's
and
true.
So the want to be here to see how it was going to turn out. And then she said yes to these issues that kept coming up. So I just want to say that, because as we're relearning some stuff, because all of us are doing that, I just remember back to the year, I don't remember what year it was prior to 22, might have been 20. I kept hearing, do something different than you normally would do. Because when I catch myself reacting in a way I might have done before, I know that I'm going to be right there for that lesson. Mm-hmm. I want to be there for it, because I want to learn that. I want to do something different. And luckily I have people around me that are the same way. Like my husband's completely different. My friends are different. And I guess, I don't know where this video is going to go, but I would put it out there. We don't know how our lives are going to work out. So just have fun with it. Have fun. Do something different. Go outside. Be open to the possibility that you don't have to think in the future, because what's causing people problems right now is this, but I heard this is going to happen, she said this, And if this is happening, this is going to happen to me. No.
I can tell you on the other side, none of that matters. You don't even give it two thoughts. And that's really put some things in perspective. Everything that is very effective down here, like, when people are in a lack mentality, or they're struggling with their finances, or they're struggling with their health, when you're up there, doesn't matter. Nothing matters. That none of that is even a factor. And I think having that experience gives me a little bit of like, okay, let's put this in perspective. I'm having this human thing that is, that is bothering me, but in the grand scheme of all that is, all my soul is doing, what is it? And it's like half the time it's nothing, because you give a lot of power to things that shouldn't be given power or shouldn't be given attention. And so if you're very focused on this down here, the minutia, and you don't like put some distance in there and get some perspective on it, it's very effective down here. It's really, people are depressed, or they're going through this stuff, or they're going through all this hard or struggle or worry. But honestly, it's like, if I think about it today, I'm like, well, if I were to leave again tomorrow, what would that matter up there? Nothing. It's just a thing to get past here. And I believe that it's an illusion. And then I can acknowledge that challenge is an illusion. It's just something put in my path to see what I'll do about it. And if I give it no attention, it usually resolves itself. So like you said, I got tired of hearing them say, trust, 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 have faith, have faith. I mean, I had readings with you. It took like a year of just saying, just trust it. And I'm like, that is a lot of trust. That's a lot of everything. But, in the grand scheme of things, that's all you can do. And when I acknowledge that I do have to just say, this is going to work out. I don't know how it's going to work out, but it's going to work out. And then all of the things that are saying, no, it's not, when you go, it's going to work. I'm not going to control the scenario. I'm just going to know that it's going to work. Then it does. It kind of breaks away. So I do feel like, I hate to say, oh, they told me so, but they did tell me so. And, it's hard to just sit back and say, I don't know. I don't know how, I'm a control freak, so I need to know. It's like I need to know every step of the way how everything is going to work and how it's going to affect me and how I can avoid pitfalls. Well, here's the thing, you just can't know that. You just can't. And I think once I accepted that, my lessons became a little bit easier. My challenges became a little bit less. Not to say that I don't have challenges. I certainly do have challenges. I was told by my guides, they said, they said, you're in your goddess phase. You have to say, what are you the goddess of? What was your story? Tell your story. What's your story? Who's your nemesis, and how did you defeat them in your life this time? They said, pretend like you're narrating your story. And I said, oh, that's so interesting, because once you can narrate your story and you know how you defeat your nemesis, or what is the battle in your story, once you see that and you come out on the other side, it kind of goes away. It kind of like slips, and it gets a lot easier. And so I have been thinking about that, or whenever I get very focused on what's not right at the present moment, I think about that, and it does actually clear itself, and get past it a lot quicker than I normally would. So I do feel like whatever I've got going on in this lifetime, we still, we're winging it at this point. I feel like the perspective at a soul level is just like, none of this matters. We're just here experiencing it. Every day in the mortal world is a gift, right? Because when we get up there, we're going to have these opportunities to grow and learn and do these things like we do down here. And so each day is an adventure, I guess. But it's been an interesting ride. And there's some days I'm like, I didn't come back for this shit. It's like there's some days that is like, this is too hard. I know I didn't go through all that to come back to have things be hard, but then I'm thinking, am I making them hard? Are they really hard, or is that an illusion? And once I can bust through it, they said, okay, well, now you're a goddess in your story. Here's your nemesis. What is your superpower? And I said, I like to explode things with my mind. Right? So it's like, if I see a wall in front of me, I'm going to explode that with my mind, and it's not going to matter. It's going to crumble into rubble. And I've been kind of just exploding a lot of things, a lot of walls. You're just thinking about that, they just bust open. It's like, what do we call it? The road opener. Like if you're going to do road opener work or road opener candle and a blockbuster candle, whatever you want to call it. I'm pagan, so I call it like a blockbuster, but it's like, that's a valid thing. So I think if everybody could figure out what their nemesis is or who they are and how are they going to defeat that and what is their superpower of how do they get through every challenge that comes their way, if you're good at visualization at all, or if you can think about it at all or have a keyword to help you through that, it's been really effective actually. And a lot of things that I just seem impossible have actually manifested. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, I guess.
Absolutely. That's how we get there. Color, visualization, okay? Go outside, all these things that we know how to do. That is the way. So you've always been a goddess. I've always known you as that. I just have had an aspect of goddess come into me. And all I can say is, wow, that is some energy.
Yeah.
Before that, I think I might have been space person, angel, whatever, love the heck out of people through it or whatever. But now I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Kind of thing. So you got to temper that kind of deal.
Yes.
And so I'm learning to temper the goddess of this blowing shit up kind of deal, because that actually is what to do. We were given a creative mind for a reason.
Yeah.
And that is how energy work is done. So we're getting towards the top of the hour, and I wanted to just show everybody the cards I picked. I'm going to throw them at you just to finish the talk today. But Angela, thank you for absolutely everything.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
I was so bummed because I was traveling when she was traveling, and she was right up the street from me basically, and I was not here. So the 4 cards I pulled, so not being a card reader, I lay them out in the north, south, east, west because I just, arthritis in my hands. So I lay them out that way, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. And I grab a card, and the way it laid out was release the heart, open the heart. It was the begin card, number 17. Whenever you get a first early card between 1 and 33, those have a ton of power in it. And this was hit your target. It's a simple act of being ready to go, walking forward. Use the expansive power of the planet Jupiter, my favorite planet, to start a project. It's time for action, not reaction. So that's everything you just talked about. Okay, card 2 was Missy's card, which is called Sapphire Blue Diamond Arc. It's the new path. This is the next path of DNA advancement through the blue star beings and Venus, the planet of love. This is all about love is going to get us there. Your DNA, the vehicle. So this is that card right there. It looks like the Whoops plant, or the one that's about 30 miles away from us, which is called, what's the one around here? The one that had the meltdown? 3 Mile Island. Because the other day when I was traveling, I looked out the window at the airport and I'm like, is that 3 Mile Island? I'm like, the heck it is. Yeah. First one was this one, begin, hitch target. You can see little target. Okay, last one, I'm going to throw them at you in a second. Last one is called 0 point, number 5. Number 5. This is also a Art of Your Energy Reiki card. So this one is create, balance, centering, and release. Time, space, and matter aligned along with the cleansing of the subtle bodies. This is the 5th code in Art of Your Energy Reiki modality. This is the code of rebirth and infinity through the spiritual planet of Neptune. It reveals the planet within. And remember, we're little planets. We're all little planets, little Earths. And this is card 61 called Balance Chaos. Pull back into your own power. This is Dragon DNA. It's been very dragony this year. This is the year of the dragon. But those dragons are like freaking everywhere. And so this one says there's no need to invite yourself to the chaos party when observing from a peaceful place can bring you any answer you need. This code uses the energy of Mars as healer. Do not be afraid of the tumult. Make the decision to step aside once you've learned the lesson that brought chaos in with it. So as you can see, these cards are perfect for
100%.
now, today. Mars as healer. Mars, we know of Mars as the warrior, but remember, Mars, everything's changed. The planets are changing, we're changing, Earth is 5D and beyond, 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 beyond. So I'm going to throw these cards at you, everybody. So everybody close your eyes just for 1 second and just think about purple. Think about purple. Think about purple. Here we go. Number 17, begin. Number 76, Sapphire Blue Diamond Arc. Number 5, 0 point. Number 61, chaos. All right, and then just go ahead and say, I call myself back to unity, body, mind, spirit, and emotion. And let's everybody just thank Angela today. And I see lots of hearts for you coming up, and thank you. There's Pat. And a lot of people are here from, I think, from Soulology, and people from Divine Dragonfly, all kinds of cool people today to come to see you, Angela, your friends too.
Awesome.
So God bless everybody, and just letting you know, on the 22nd, Justin will be here. He has a very interesting experience about coming back to life, but he's probably going to talk about energy and all kinds of stuff too. So God bless you, Angela. I love you.
Love you too. Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody. Good night.